you probably have noticed my British accent. No, but I'm from Spain, but I'm living in the Netherlands for 13 years now, and I'm a co-founder of the Purpose Collective together with Chris and Sarah. Um, well, maybe I can say how we connected and how we started all this thing. Um, we were Chris and I connected about a year ago almost, and we found each other and we thought, wow, there's a competitor. I thought, yeah, he's in the UK, and I'm, I thought I was the very innovative, but I wasn't the only one trying to do things about purpose. And then we had a chat, we connected very well, and we were thinking about doing this event in London, and and then Chris got in touch with Sarah as well. We wanted to bring someone else, and they had a coffee, right? Once, and actually they met face to face just for half an hour, I believe, but we never met as the three of us together. So basically, I haven't met them in person, but I think this is the session number 15 or something, and we did a master class together, and we're bringing and building this community. So it started with that event in London. We had to cancel because of the COVID-19, but we kept in touch. We had a weekly call and basically checking in with each other and trying to support each other during the challenging times. And then it was about towards May when we decided, okay, let's convert that event into a series of events called Conversations About Purpose. And here we are right now. I think more than 1,000 people registered for our Conversations About Purpose so far, and some of you are regular attendees, but some of you are new. So welcome everyone. And I don't know, guys, Sarah, maybe you want to share a few words?
Thank you, Alberto. So welcome everybody, whether you're here for the first time or a returner. Great to have you with us for this Purpose Collective session, along with Alberto and Chris. I'm the third co-founder. I'll say a few words and then we're going to introduce Chris more fully shortly, a bit later in the session. So by background, I'm a business psychologist. I'm also the author, as many of you do know, of this book, Powered by Purpose. I did a shout out last time to see if any of you who'd read it might be willing to post a review on Amazon. And some of you did. Thank you very much. And if there's anyone else out there willing to write a review, I'd really appreciate it. I'm also a dialogue facilitator. And the core of my work for many years has been facilitating deeper dialogue amongst leadership teams. So we're going to do an experiment with this session. And I take my inspiration from Adam Grant, who is a top management thinker at Wharton Business School. And this is something he does with his students. He uses 3 hashtags, and I've just put them in the chat box. I hope you can see those. If you're having a light bulb moment during this session, for example, where Chris is speaking, please put hashtag aha in the chat box and then add your comment. If there's something you disagree with, and we've already got a sense that growth for some of you might be a stupid concept or destructive, you could put hashtag debate. You'd like to unpack that further. And if you're feeling really energized or lit up by something here, hashtag on fire. And that will just help us track through the online conversation as well. So delighted to be here. And I'm going to hand the baton back to Alberto, I think, for the next part.
Yeah, I have a couple of things to say. So we listened to our people, our community. So they wanted to create some connections with each other, because here we use breakouts and you meet people and connect with them. But people were asking, to connect on LinkedIn and things like that. So we have created a LinkedIn group. So I'll share the link to this group on the chat, in the chat shortly. And then you can request access, and then we will basically accept you all if you want to join and then connect with each other. So that would be great. And the second thing is that we have someone usually on the spotlight in our sessions. And we have today Deborah. And so I'm gonna introduce you to her. Some of you already know her because she's been, to many sessions already. But yeah, we would love to know a bit more about her. So hello, Deborah. How are
Hi, thank you. That it's such an honor. I hope I make you proud.
You will, you will. Well, a couple of questions. So what do you do?
So what do I do? That's like a small question, but it's really quite big at this stage in my life and career. I'm an international advisor. I'm also a design director. So currently, so what do I do currently is for me more of the question. I'm a co-founder of a digital fluency lab here in The Hague. So I do a lot of work on that. And I'm also the managing director of Brainworks, which is out of Rotterdam. So basically what do I do? I work across many other sectors, so I wear a lot of different hats, but I actually do a lot. It's a different, I think I mean, I know we're recording, and so I wish I had a much more concise answer on this first question. What do I do? I basically help businesses grow, and I help them stay focused, and I have been called the conscience of various businesses. So that's what I do.
Yeah. You mentioned Rotterdam, but where do you live?
I live in The Hague. Yeah, I'm fortunate to live in The Hague. I'm also from New York City. Pre-pandemic, I had a transatlantic international life. During, since lockdown, I've been working from home, which happens to be a place in The Hague, and my family is in New York City. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you enjoy the most about the Purpose Collective?
I love, when thinking about that, I really love the spontaneity of it, in the sense that it's very well organized, but it came up because of the lockdown. It's been birthed in 2020, and I appreciate the spontaneous connections that happen in the breakout rooms. So the energy, yeah.
And how do you see us developed?
Well, I thought about that question, and as I was a clothing designer on 7th Avenue for almost 2 decades back in the 80s and 90s. And growth was, the 80s and 90s version of growth was the linear growth, right? And I think we're now in a circular growth pattern, hopefully, where things are regenerating. So I would love to just see you continue to regenerate this beautiful energy that you create, and not feel like you have to be on a trajectory of linear growth that ultimately kills something super creative like this. So just keep expanding. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And who is your purpose superhero?
Well, when you asked that a couple of weeks ago, I said my answer was my soul, and I want to give her a pitch again, but then I'm going to add 2 others. So my soul, and this idea of purpose, which is your meaning. Why were you born? Why are you here? I think I've just been super lucky to listen to my soul. That's how I ended up becoming a clothing designer, going for that, because I really believe if it's inside of you, it's inside of you for a reason. And so give it life and see what happens. And I wanted to be a designer since I was little, so then I became one. The second thing that I'll jump to, there's many things in between, is I wanted to be a peace builder. So I went back to school for that, and that's how come I'm in The Hague. So one of the reason I hesitated on my answer about what I do is I do peace building, and peace building to me means thriving. And, I can boil that down for anybody that's interested in that topic, because it's a well-developed topic that I've got a lot to say on.
Okay.
Oh, I wanted to add 2 other superheroes. Yeah. Okay. So from a peace building standpoint, Desmond Tutu, because I think as a non-pacifist, he's got one of the best ways of discussing peace building, which is not peacekeeping, it's not peacemaking, it's building. And when you're building peace, you have to be truthful, and you have to be honest, because you have to reserve the right to forgive those who have done things that are harming. And so he describes it in a way that I think is just spectacular for anybody that studies Desmond Tutu. My other superhero is on a humanist perspective of being a feminist, is Gloria Steinem. So they really truly are superheroes to me, because they stay the course. When everybody's trying to push them off, they stay the course, and they are grounded in their principles. Yeah.
Thank you. Very inspiring. And if you can put your purpose in a sentence, what would that be?
I do that. I say this a lot across my advisories as well, that my purpose is to and any of you that we've been in meetings, you've heard me in these breakout sessions, it's to amplify freedom, growth, and joy, and one without the other, two without the other. That's where you see the weak link. So freedom, growth, and joy, my purpose is to amplify that. And that's to promote thriving. And that's to me the definition of peace building, when you're able to promote thriving. And that's what I do. And I stand by that.
Well, thank you very much, Deborah. Just one last thing. I'm going to share my screen quickly. Last week, or last session, 2 weeks ago, was led by Marie. She's in the call as well. And Marie did a great exercise. And she said that, if you could put a message on a billboard that is linked to your purpose and to help people, to help others or inspire others, what would that message be? And people started to share their messages, and we built these kind of visuals with different messages from different people that you can see here. So what we would like to actually suggest, if you can answer that question, if you have a message you could share with people to help them, share that in the chat. You can put also maybe a hashtag set billboard and then your message maybe, and we will be happy to create this visual and send it back to you, and you can use it if you want or share it on social media, whatever. And with that, I just pass it on to Chris.
Okay, so I guess Sarah, for my intro, you're going to kind of interview me as a lead into the session. So I'm in your hands.
Great, thank you, Chris. Chris, I've got 3 questions for you.
Okay.
And this is a lovely build. Thank you, Deborah, for what you shared. Growth, freedom, and joy. And we're focusing here particularly, as you know, Chris, on growth. So, Chris, what has been your experience of growth?
So I guess it's a story of 2 halves. I spent 14 years of my career working in high growth organizations. So I had 2 experiences working in companies that were very fast growing. The first one, I was there for 10 years. When I joined, there were 40 people. When I left, there were 1,800, and they doubled in size every 2 years. And it was a great place to work. And I joined in a frontline role. And when I left, I was the deputy CEO. And so one of the things that happened through growth was it created opportunities, loads of opportunities for me and everybody in the business. So, and then I took that experience and I went to run the UK subsidiary for a US business. And again, we had sort of a great growth story. And I can see that Jason Wildsmith is in the group today. And I work with Jason at Maximus. And we went from 300 people to 4,000 in 3.5 years across the Maximus in the UK. So that was the first part. And then I went and I did a couple of CEO roles, which were kind of turnarounds. And I was working with organizations whose growth had stopped or who were suffering from the consequences of growth managed badly. And so I kind of got 2 angles of growth. The bigger part of my career was in growth organizations, and then the second part of my career was going into organizations, trying to fix them after the growth wheels had fallen off.
Great, I love that. The growth wheels falling off. And you've also talked about growth at the organizational level and at the individual level, your own growth as a professional. What do you see as the connection between growth and purpose?
So if I link it back to my experience and those organizations, when I look back, those first 2 organizations where we experienced really successful growth, they were both purpose-driven organizations. I think in particular, the first organization, Ingeus, and I think Susanna is on the call, we worked together at Ingeus, it was a very strongly purpose-driven organization. And actually that helped to fire the growth, but it helped to keep the growth on track and in check. The second organization, Maximus, I would still say they were a purpose-driven business, much bigger. And so, maybe less purpose-driven than Ingeus, but still when you joined them, their mission was helping government serve the people. The first thing every new joiner was told was, we've got 3 maxims: quality first, profit second, and then growth. You know, so quality is the most important. Quality will drive profits. Profits will drive growth. And then in the second half of my career, what I observed in those organizations, what had gone wrong, what I saw was a lack of purpose. And they had gone after growth for growth's sake. And then they'd kind of experienced the damage that can kind of happen with that. So that's how I would link purpose and growth. I think purpose, I talk about it as purpose as being one of the key foundation stones for sustainable growth.
Great, thank you. And last question from me. How have those experiences shaped what you do now?
So the experiences from the first part of my career. So one of the things I learned is I love growth. I love being part of growth. I think growth creates great energy. It creates opportunity for talent to develop and to blossom. And it brings great excitement and you know, thinking of new solutions. But also those experiences, my latter experiences, I realized working for organizations without purpose was a pretty miserable place to be. And so that latter part of my sort of career that I talked about, you know, I lost my personal purpose, and that inspired me to go up and set my own organization up. Now we're actually Purpose at the center, you know, to be a co-founder of the Purpose Collective as well, but really to kind of bring focus on purpose as a force for good in business, and purpose as something that can drive positive performance and positive growth in organizations. So that's kind of how it's inspired me.
Thank you, Chris. As my mum would say, no learning is ever wasted. So yes. Great to hear you learn from those times when purpose has been absent as well. So I think that's going to take us into the full body of your talk. Is that
yes? Right? And so very quickly, so I'm just going to share a couple of content for 2 minutes, and then we're going to get into the breakout rooms. And so the content that I wanted to share, and if you bear with me, I've just realized that it's not there. So I just got to open it up. Okay, here we go. Right, okay, can I get a thumbs up if you can see the screen? Excellent. And so just very quickly, why is growth difficult? Because growth is difficult. So in the UK, there are over 5 million small and medium-sized businesses. And 99.3% of those businesses are not achieving growth greater than 20%. So there's only, if I flip it, 0.6% of businesses in the UK grow at a rate of greater than 20%. So growth is difficult. The stats tell you that growth is difficult. Why is growth difficult? This is a block of Jenga. So I don't know whether Jenga is a global game and phenomenon. For those of you who've not played Jenga, the game is to build the tower as tall as possible. You don't get any new bricks. You just got to take bricks out from the bottom and put them on the top. And I think Jenga is a great metaphor for business growth. Because if you're not growing as a business, you're here, you're stable, it's pretty predictable. But the moment you start to grow, what happens is, in most businesses, and I don't know if you're picking this up on your screens, I'm very proud, this is a meme, so it should be wobbling slightly. So, typically, when you're a business, when you grow, you don't get extra resources to grow with. You have to use the resources that exist in the business, because until you've grown, you don't have the extra money, the extra profit, etc. And so in the same way as Jenga, you grow in Jenga by taking blocks from the bottom of the tower. That's kind of how most businesses grow. You have to tap into the resources, and you're taking resources from elsewhere in the organization to fuel that growth. And what happens is that makes things less stable. And if you grow too quickly, if you're careless, if your tower gets really, really big, it can fall over. And so Jenga as a metaphor for growth. And I wanted to start today's conversation not to focus on a negative, but to actually acknowledge that without purpose, growth can be growth for growth's sake. And I just wanted to share what I've experienced before I invite you into chat rooms, is to say, here's 3 issues that I've observed where maybe growth kind of goes wrong, or what I call the dark side of growth. So one of the things is growth tunnel vision. Organizations just get so focused on growth at the exception of everything else, and it can really overstretch the organization. It can also lead to overpromising and under-delivering. People get so focused on growth, they forget about the quality of their service, their product, what they're there to do. And it can also lead businesses to make short-term decisions, or to move into areas that are inconsistent with their purpose. Another potential downside of growth, constant change. That can be a good thing, but it can also be a negative thing. So nothing stays the same. I've seen employees become disillusioned and say things like, this is not the company that I joined. And the other thing that I've observed is systems and processes often lag behind growth, and that causes issues and builds up problems. And I've seen growth break many organizations. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to open the chat rooms. And the conversation for the first chat room is, I want people to reflect and share, have you had any direct experience or any observations of the dark side of growth, or growth that's gone wrong, or growth without purpose? And what's that been like? So, you know, your personal experience or observation of growth without purpose, the dark side of growth. So we're going to be in groups of 3 or 4. It's 1:25. So we're going to have this chat for 10 minutes for the first discussion. The second discussion will be a bit longer with the same group. So going to open the breakout rooms. Yep, everybody back. Okay, so we're going to keep things moving at a pace. So I'm going to encourage people to use the chat to share any big reflections that came out of your discussions, any aha moments, and we'll kind of capture those as we go. But I'm just going to now flip it from the dark side of growth, and I want to talk about kind of when growth goes well, and you know, how you can support it to go well using purpose. And I've just seen a message flash up from Chris, 10 minutes is never enough. We're going to try and get 15 minutes for the next conversation. So I'm going to go through this really quickly. And again, I'm just going to reflect back. I'm going to share screen again. And I just want to share with you a model. And this is a model that is built and informed by my experiences. And this is a model that now I use in my work when I do consultancy. And this is a model for achieving sustainable growth. And there are 3 levels to the model. In the center are what I call the foundations of growth. And, you know, mixing metaphors, you know, a Jenga block is not a house, but if it was a house, it would stand up better if it had foundations. So I talk about the foundations of being purpose, ambition, culture, and talent. 5 stages of growth, which is the coloured segments, and the 5 skill sets you need to manage growth successfully: strategy, winning business, implementing growth, fulfilling promises to your customers, and transition to the next level. And then the 3rd level of the model is leadership. Leadership is required. And what I want to do is just focus in today on those, what I call the foundations of growth. And this was really informed by my experiences, both positive and negative. And the first thing that I would say is, purpose by itself is not enough to support growth and to support sustainable growth. And what I experienced and now where I work with businesses is that to get successful and sustainable growth, you need to combine purpose with ambition, with culture, and with talent. And if I unpack that a little bit for you, so purpose first. Purpose is the vital ingredient. And so I talk about purpose provides clarity. What are we here to do? And in a growth scenario, what is our reason to grow? And when I think back to the growth I experienced in those successful businesses, it wasn't growth for growth's sake. We had a really clear purpose. We had a really clear impact we were trying to make in the world. And that provided a clarity of why we were doing what we were doing and where we were going. It also created alignment in the organization. So that purpose, that clarity of purpose, meant that everybody was motivated to row in the same direction. And it harnessed the passion of our people, and it harnessed the passion of our customers, because they were also motivated by the purpose that we had. But it was the ambition that harnessed the passion. It was the ambition that focused the purpose on a bigger goal. And if you, in a growth organization, if you've got purpose, ambition, and you're really strongly about that purpose, then typically one of the things that happens is you want to take your impact broader. And that's where ambition comes in alongside purpose. But none of it works without culture. And the intersection between culture and purpose is going to be the topic of the second conversation. And what I've observed is culture is, in a growth context, so culture is how you speak, how you behave. It's about the shared thought patterns, the shared beliefs in an organization. And actually, culture facilitates, and if you can hear us on screening, that's my 3-year-old Sonny in the background, so apologies about that. But culture actually facilitates speed and change more so than system and process. Sonny disagrees. He's not very happy about it.
You can mute her. You can.
He doesn't like to be muted. He's very difficult. But the last thing for growth, and this is what I experienced, is growth creates opportunity. And if you've got talent in your organization, growth creates the space for that talent to grow. And that creates a virtuous cycle, particularly when the people are bought into the culture, bought into the purpose. And so I just wanted to share this sort of little model, and in particular, the intersection between purpose, ambition, culture, and talent. And that's kind of going to lead into the second group discussion, which is, I'm going to invite you to have a conversation about how do you think purpose and culture interact and align. I think they're essential in purpose-driven businesses. I think culture is an essential element of that. Do you agree? Maybe relate it to growth. And if you want to bring in some of those other aspects, ambition or talent, feel free to do so. So I'm going to open, it's going to be the same chat rooms. I noticed there was one room with 2 people and one room with 5 people, which was my bad for putting that together. So I'm going to nominate one of the members of that team of 5. So Susanna, you're in there. I'm going to see if you're okay to move into a room with 10. Susanna is who knows me, so hopefully you're going to forgive me for doing this, Susanna. But I'm going to open the rooms now. We're at 42 minutes past the hour, so we've got 13 minutes for this conversation. So what is the intersection between purpose and culture, and how does that relate to growth? Join us. How were your discussions?
Yeah, really good. Really enjoyed this.
It was great. It was great.
You can always tell by the smiles. I mean, like genuine smiles, right? It's like, it's the burst of energy that happens in these quick talks. It's just great.
Ooh, okay, so I think we're all back. So Alberto, you have a task for us all.
Yeah, so talking about smiles, yeah, I need yours now. So I'm going to take a couple of screenshots. I have 2 screens here because we have 40 people. So bring your best smile, and 1, 2, 3. That's one. And the other one. 1, 2, 3, smile. Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, so we don't have very much time. While we were in the breakout rooms having your discussions, I just caught up on a few of the chat questions. So Stuart Wood asked a really interesting question. Can you create a healthy growth culture, the collective in relationship to the formal leadership structure? A big question, Stuart, and so maybe I'll kind of send you some thoughts offline. Maybe we could have a catch up, but I think the answer is yes. But I think the short answer is it's by getting everybody involved in the purpose of the organization, the strategy of the organization, and almost kind of giving everybody a voice in that growth journey. I think without that, then it's kind of difficult. John made the observation, growth without purpose often makes companies lifeless places. Absolutely. And I sort of experienced that. And then Scott said, growth rooted in finding your purpose can create a meaningful existence. And so absolutely 100% there with you, Scott. So I'm just going to invite, does anybody want to very quickly give maybe 1 or 2 reflections on their discussions across the 2 discussions in their rooms? I'm just looking across if anybody wants to volunteer or put a hand up. So maybe Bengt, so I think you put a comment earlier around about growth. So Ben, what was the outcome of your discussions?
It was a learning experience. We were, I would say, I was not on the same track as Deborah, but it was interesting to see. And I had some dangers about a monoculture going globally, but connected to Deborah, it was. I mean, we have a morphing culture, but my feeling is that it will be too similar, and that's boring again.
Okay, yeah, so growth can lead to sort of homogeneity.
Yep.
Okay, well, we thank you, Benk, for feeding back. We're conscious of time. I just want to introduce Kalila Olakanula. So Kalila is going to be our guest host at the next session. So Kalila, do you want to say hello to everybody? I encourage everybody, we're going to put the details in the chat. This is going to be an amazing session, amazing organization. But Kalila, hopefully you're still with us. Would you like to say just a quick hello to everybody?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for welcoming me. Great conversation in the chat room, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you guys again next time and starting the conversation on purpose and what we do here at True Colors.
Okay, so honestly, this is going to be a great session next week. So hopefully everybody will join, and I'm going to hand over to Sarah for the final word and the closing of the session. And you're on mute, Sarah.
Thank you very much. So a big thank you for coming. Chris, a huge thank you to you for sharing your wisdom with us about the healthy and the dark side of growth. Thank you, Alberto. Thank you, Deborah, for being in the spotlight, interviewed there by Alberto. Great to hear about your purpose, superhero. And just encourage you to come back and join us, as Chris has said, in a couple of weeks for Kalila's session. It's at the same time, so 1 p.m. UK time, 25th of February. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for the experiment with the hashtags as well. So great to know when you were on fire, having aha moments and wanted further debate. So we hope to see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for coming.